Diarrhea in sensory deprivation tank. Title pretty much sums it up. I paid for a sensory deprivation tank experience not realizing I had contracted norovirus and was about to become symptomatic. Initially I was having a lot of weird hallucination-type sensations where I chalked up to the experience. Later turned out I had a 103F fever, and somewhat fell asleep. I woke up to an awful odor and demanded to be let out of the tank, and it turned out I had diarrhea in it. This alone was a traumatizing experience, but now the facility is trying to charge me $8,000 to replace the tank as they do not feel they can safely disinfect this. I don't recall signing anything with some sort of diarrhea clause. Am I actually liable here? NaL, I'm a biologist. There is almost no chance that this tank is permanently ruined if it is a smooth plastic-walled tank. If nothing else, viruses cannot live indefinitely outside of a host. Vigorous sanitation protocols combined with an appropriate period of disuse will render it safe. The business not feeling like it can sanitize it is just that, a feeling not a fact. Again, NaL, but I think the operative phrase is duty to mitigate. As a lawyer and someone who had norovirus-induced diarrhea literally yesterday, this guy gets it. This is analogous to scraping someone's car in a parking lot. But instead of asking for repainting, they are demanding a whole new car. Furthering this, as an ecologist who has had many occasions to test water quality in a variety of locations for contamination, there is no way to guarantee that anyone getting into a publicly accessible tank at any business will be completely free of human fecal bacteria or enteroviruses no matter how well bathed they are. That is why decontamination and sanitization exists. This is something their insurance should cover. I expect the insurance will pay to clean the tank, not replace it, because it's not reasonable to replace an entire tank over this. The insurance might then come after you for the costs of cleaning, disinfecting the tank, at which point you could pay, or negotiate a lower price, or let them fight you in court. Edit. Another poster provided a link to a document showing that the industry standard for diarrhea in a sensory deprivation tank is to drain and disinfect the tank, not to replace it. Seems there are cleaning standards for your specific situation here, but perhaps their tank manufacturer has other instructions that override the standard. Link. Are you able to access any sort of contract that you signed or policies that you agreed to prior to the experience? What do they say about damage caused to the equipment? I'll try to find that. What I signed there was purely about bodily harm such as slipping getting in or out of the tank, head trauma from sitting up in the tank, and drowning. You may also have agreed to various policies as a condition of booking. You are certainly liable for the cost of cleaning replacing the Epsom salt water, but not a replacement tank. They had better disinfect by default, because even if people don't take an actual shit in those tanks, bodily fluids are present. When I worked at a sensory deprivation spa, we had it written into the waiver the cost of any bodily fluids eliminated in the water. I may talk to the owner directly. They have to completely empty the tank and there are about 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt in the water and the cost of shutting down one of the tanks to get it operational again. Maybe talk to the owner or get a lawyer and pick over the waiver. Definitely get a copy of what you signed first. Wait. Does that mean they're not replacing between floats? Cost-wise makes sense. That's an F-ton of salt. How often are the tanks cleaned? I know there's a lot of salt, but the thought of that still makes my skin itch. XD. I've done sensory deprivation tanks before and I do need to sign a clause that I am responsible for any cleanup or damage if I urinate or go number 2. Not sure if you signed something as well, but you could be responsible for the cost to clean and or replace. Sorry for your experience. I don't recall signing anything with some sort of diarrhea clause. There doesn't need to be a clause for every specific way the tank can be damaged. If there is a clause about damage in the paperwork you signed, this would fall under it. There was nothing in the paperwork about damage to the tank, purely a liability release about injury to myself. I might suggest doing a lawyer consult and figuring out what it would cost to litigate this, and offer them a bit less. Although I can't imagine that a company admitting that they don't sanitize the tank on a regular basis and that they don't know how to sanitize the tank that they let a bunch of people use on a daily basis is going to go well for them in court. NaL, but there's some options. Require that they provide you with proof you agreed to this clause for damage, and that sanitation hazards are acknowledged in their damage agreement. If so, agree to pay for a specialty cleaning service, but not a replacement. They may not have cleaned it at all. Honestly, if I worked there, I would not. Provide them with a quote from a biohazard cleaning company for the cleaning and tell them that's all you are willing to pay. Refer them to contact their insurance company. Do nothing unless you are served with a lawsuit. Yes, you're 100% liable for the damage caused as a result of your accident. But the amount is something you can dispute. I think there must be a way to clean and sanitize the tank without replacing it. And even if there isn't, the only way you would owe the full cost of a new tank is if the tank was brand new when this happened. It's a tank that is pitch black and you're suspended in salted water, so you're perfectly balanced. The absence of outside sensations can lead to a meditative or hallucinogenic experience, and also very expensive diarrhea.